Well, I think slowing down is absolutely critical. I mean, we're living our lives at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and that doesn't allow any space for reflection and perspective. And I think that's what enables us to sort of sleepwalk into the darkness to a certain extent. And so it's about creating those moments and spaces in time where you can actually have a little bit of creative maneuvering room to look at things from a different angle, to think perhaps a bit more laterally, and just to stop the kind of constant overstimulation that we plug into our rapaciously hungry and high appetite brains. And so for me, I think slow travel and living a bit more slowly is about just sitting and being for a bit, looking out of that train window, watching the world roll by without flicking through a screen and without wondering what the next article I'm going to read is going to be. Now, there's definitely a connection between slow travel and politics. I mean, again, for that sort of moment of distraction. I think for me, the cliche is the journey is the reward. You have to enjoy the passage of getting somewhere. It's not always about the destination. And I think we've heard that from several speakers over the course of the House. It's like, it's not about an outcome, it's about the journey. Not least because the ultimate individual outcome is sort of slightly mortal. And as Paul Collier said yesterday, there aren't any happy endings, but there are happy moments along the way. And so I think slow travel is part of that reflective, ruminative process where real satisfaction lies. Yeah, so I think in the context of the climate crisis, people often conflate revolution and rebellion. And, revolutions are incredibly chaotic. They're actually dangerous things in a way because they tend to break so many of the systems and institutions which actually do provide some safeguarding and stability. And I think Kafka said, most revolutions end up in the slime of bureaucracy. So rebellion is a very different notion. Rebellion is about putting pressure on existing powers to create the right change. So it's not about a sort of wanton destruction of everything. It is about compelling the powers and the institutions that you currently have to act in the most radical and appropriate way, which is why Extinction Rebellion, I think, is powerful. We're not trying to bring down the state, but we are in rebellion against the state because the primary responsibility and duty of a state to its citizens is to protect their welfare. And if a government is not addressing the climate crisis and the climate emergency in the most radical way possible, then it's failing in its fundamental duty to protect the welfare of its citizens. And that is why we rebel. I think there's a very strong alignment between being a rebel in business and being part of Extinction Rebellion and addressing the climate crisis. If you think very simply about the three demands of Extinction Rebellion, which are tell the truth and act like that truth is real, go zero carbon by 2025, and to have a citizens' assembly to help us work out what the difficult decisions we have to make together are to address the climate crisis, then you can imagine that being replicated in every business as well. It's like every business should declare climate emergency. Every business should be working out what it has to look like to be zero carbon. And every business should be bringing all of its talent and skills and people together to wrangle with the solutions that they might have to implement. And that's inclusive, inspiring, and it's the way that we're going to help ourselves wrestle our way out of this mess. I mean, the most dangerous idea is actually, I think, the simplest one, which is speaking truth to power. All of our work is compromised in the sense of its willful blindness, and every organisation suffers an element of willful blindness. Be it whether they're failing to address the climate crisis, whether they're unable to see the potentiality of true diversity and inclusivity within their organisations, or to take account of a myriad of different perspectives. Every organisation has that willful blindness, and to have the courage and the compassion and the support and the nurturing environment to be able to speak those uncomfortable truths, that, I think, is a very simple but extremely radical idea.